With the conclusion of the NASCAR Cup Series race yesterday at Kansas, NASCAR is now halfway through the regular season of the NASCAR Cup Series, which means that the playoff picture that we're looking at right now is really starting to show what battle we're going to see down the stretch till we get to Daytona and so forth. So today, I want to look at the NASCAR Cup Series playoff outlook halfway through the regular season. But more on that right after this. It is the month of May, which means that you're going to be busy watching all the racing action you can. And you don't want to miss a moment of the action wasting time with food prep. That is where Factor comes in. Factor makes meeting your nutritional goals easier than ever before by delivering fresh, never frozen, dietitian-approved meals that are right at your doorstep. Factor cuts out the stressful meal planning, extreme prepping, and so forth with your meals and has them come together in minutes as Factor meals arrive pre-prepared and ready to eat in 2 minutes. Factor offers different meal plans. I personally have chosen the Calorie Smart option as I'm trying to get into better and better shape and eat better as well. Now, Factor is owned by HelloFresh, and that gives me the options as well to choose between different kinds of meals and different kinds of food. And these are options that you can get too. And nothing is better than getting done with a workout and then having a meal, like this creamy mushroom chicken and rice meal that I had. So, to get your Factor order, head over to go.factor75.com/iceberg120 and use code iceberg120 to get $120 off of your Factor order. That's go.factor75.com/iceberg120 and use code iceberg120 to get $120 off. Now, back to the show. We're going to break this into 3 distinct groups. The first one is those who are already locked in. Second one, those on the cutoff line within 1 race at the moment of the playoff picture, because those are going to be the ones who are more likely to point their way in or point their way out. And then we're going to look briefly at those who are underneath the 1 race cutoff line. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Now with winners, we have 11 currently that look to be locked into the playoffs, barring disaster. Austin Cindric, Kyle Larson, Alex Bowman, Chase Briscoe, William Byron, Ross Chastain, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, and now Kurt Busch. These 11 drivers at the moment need to focus on one thing and one thing alone: accruing as many playoff points as possible. And I think that is going to be something that they're going to be able to do. We've seen it in the past since win and you're in playoff formats have been introduced into NASCAR in 2014, that once a driver gets a win, they can pretty much go for broke the rest of the regular season. So their playoff outlook right now is building on the biggest buffer possible to make the round of 16 as easy as possible. Now we go to what I think is the most fun part, and this is the guys who are in that playoff bubble line. Now there are 2 above the bubble line that are more than a race above, but I still want to look at them as, by any means, they could be within that bubble line due to the fact that there could be winners below the top 16. Starting off with Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney currently is plus 112 points over 17th position at the moment. That is nearly 2 races above the cut line, and he would need to lose nearly 9 points every race to fall out of the playoffs if all the winners stayed the same as they are now and the playoff points stayed as they are now. At the moment, he has tons and tons of speed and is in the running for the regular season championship behind Chase Elliott. So I think Ryan Blaney will be safe. So I would say go for as many playoff points as possible. Basically do the same thing the top 11 winners have done and just go for broke so you can get as many playoff points as you can. Now, behind him is Martin Truex Jr., who is plus 89 points over the cut line, which is just over a race above, about a race and a half actually. He needs to just stay consistent. Truex has not been flashy this year. He hasn't competed for many wins, but he has been a solid 4th to 8th place driver who can always be counted on to be up in that top 10. And when you're up in the top 10 and have speed, just as with Blaney, you can probably capitalize and get a few wins. So I would say just stay consistent, finish out the races, and it looks like he'll be able to point his way in. Behind him is Christopher Bell, who is plus 48 points over the cut line in 14th. He is nearly a full race above the cut line, but not quite yet. He started the season extremely slow, which was concerning as he started slower than Denny Hamlin did, but he's gotten hot ever since. Since the Atlanta race, he's averaged a 9th place finish. So, as for him, his outlook, keep doing what you're doing, and you'll either get to a win or point your way in. Now, in 15th is Kevin Harvick, plus 24 over the cut line. He has been in mostly that 6th to 15th place range all season. And let's be real, he has not had any winning speed this season aside from the end of the Richmond race. I would say that Harvick right now has the experience to be pretty tough under pressure, so that's an advantage that he has over the rest of his competition in my opinion. But at the same time, the trajectory of his career, as well as Stewart-Haas Racing, is not in a positive direction. So, for my outlook, he needs to keep the consistency up, but he's probably going to be on this cut line for the rest of the 13 races of the regular season. Right behind him is his teammate in 16th, and in the final spot, and that's Aric Almirola, only plus 11 over the cut line. Almirola started the season really well with a lot of top 10 finishes, but has since fallen off. He has not gotten a top 10 since the start of the year, and now is within striking distance of being out of the playoffs. Almirola is, again, someone who didn't have much speed last year, started off pretty well this year, but doesn't have much speed as well, and now is going to be in Stewart-Haas equipment that isn't going to be up to par. So for Almirola, the outlook is that he's in trouble. The first driver out is Austin Dillon, and he is minus 11, obviously, and he's also been running in that 8th to 13th place range every week, but hasn't been able to close it out. Dillon is the type of driver that you don't expect to make the playoffs any year, but he always seems to make it just by the skin of his teeth. My outlook for Dillon is that he just needs to finish out races in the top 10 more instead of the top 15 or top 20. His RCR teammate in Tyler Reddick is currently 18th. Minus 22 points from the playoff cut line. Reddick is an insanely talented driver who, in my opinion, has elevated his RCR equipment that is not up to snuff. He's run up front pretty much all season, but he always seems to either have bad luck or run the car too hard, and he can never get the finishes he deserves. If he did, he'd easily be in the playoffs and probably have a win at this point. My outlook for Reddick is if they can finish out races, he will be completely fine. As from anyone that is within the cut line right now, I would say that Reddick has the strongest cars week in and week out. In 19th position is Erik Jones, minus 32 points out. Jones has not finished out races. He's run up front pretty much every other week, but has never gotten the finishes that he deserves from them. He has the speed to be a playoff caliber driver just like Reddick does, and Petty GMS seems to be on an upward trend. So everything seems to be going in his direction, it's just he can't get good luck. My outlook is that he needs to close out races as well, get more consistent, and just get a little luck on his side for once. And in 20th, the last driver within a race of the playoff cut line is Daniel Suarez. Suarez being 49 points out, just about a full race out at the moment. He has been a few steps behind his teammate Ross Chastain all year, Chastain being a championship contender, and Suarez barely being a top 20 driver. Bad luck has taken him out a lot, but at the same time, that team has also been a lot slower than pretty much every major Chevy team has. My outlook for Suarez is I need to clean up their act as an entire team and finish out races as well, which is pretty much the same thing I have for everyone below Martin Truex Jr. And then after that, you have the 11 drivers below the top 20 that are more than a race out, but are competitive enough at some point or another to make the playoffs. These guys are Chris Buescher, Bubba Wallace, Justin Haley, Michael McDowell, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Ty Dillon, Cole Custer, Harrison Burton, Todd Gilliland, Corey LaJoie, and Brad Keselowski in 31st. What I'd say about all these guys is that they are far too inconsistent to make it on points. For these guys, it's a win. It has to be a win and nothing else but it. And there's only a few that actually have more than one top 10 on the year: Buescher, Wallace, Stenhouse, and McDowell. Stenhouse, out of all of these guys, is the one who's been doing the best in the last couple weeks, so he might be the only one who I could see having the speed on a semi-regular basis to get up there. Other than that, all these guys are going to have to take wild strategy calls or hope for crazy restarts or rain delays or whatever it might be to get a win. Bubba Wallace, Michael McDowell, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Corey LaJoie, and Brad Keselowski are the 5 guys out of this group that I think have a realistic chance of winning at Atlanta or Daytona. I don't know which one out of here I would bet for, but of these guys, I do think that Bubba is the best super speedway racer at the moment with the best cars in this group. Now, with that covers pretty much the top 31 drivers and the 31 drivers that will be making up the playoff fight this year. So I want to ask you, halfway through the regular season, who do you think is going to make and miss the playoffs this year? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, subscribe to my channel for more great NASCAR content, and all my channel members, thank you so much for all of your support. So until next time, have a good one.